Let me tell you, this has nothing to do with anything that's about to happen next, but y'all gonna need to get you one of these, okay? These little brushes, Hawk-on brushes. Yeah, babe, go ahead and get you one of these. A goddamn chicken salad. Hi, my name is Grace and welcome back to my space. So I'm about to put on a little makeup. Like, I'm not even about to do that much because I'm actually running late for dinner. But before I go on to dinner, there's just been an elephant in the room, right? And in the room, I mean the room of the planet, all the rooms. And sometimes you just gotta acknowledge the elephant, because otherwise it kind of just feels like, damn girl, I can't breathe. Taking up all this space, all this oxygen, I can't breathe. So today, while I do my makeup, it's time for us to discuss an elephant. An elephant that has me thinking about a lot of things, a lot of layered things, a lot of layered discussions. And this is my space. Y'all are my loyal 40. I feel like sometimes it's just better to let's just talk it out. Do I have a solution? No, but that's fine. There's no solutions to systemic problems. Let's talk colorism. First things first, we're using my dark skin foundation. So, colorism. Y'all, also if I look here, I'm finding a mirror. So again, if I don't look at you, it doesn't mean I don't care. It's because I'm trying to find a mirror. I feel like I don't need to be one to say that, like, I feel like lately though, there's been some projects, announcements, no tea will be aired, but project announcements that have come out that have really brought to the forefront something that I've been dealing with my career from the moment I started it, but also in general for years and years, something that's true about Hollywood, and that Hollywood has a major colorism issue. But it's not just Hollywood, and that's something that I've really come to realize as I grow older and I start to synthesize my role as an actor and my role as somebody pursuing this industry and my reality as an actor, but also my reality as a Black girl, you know what I mean? As I start to synthesize my reality as a Black girl as well as my attempts to be representation, I start to notice one of two things. One, part of the reason representation is so important, right? And the variety in representation is so important is because media is where we get our first messages. Okay, so we're just, gonna start there. Media is where we get our first messaging. My awakening, I won't even call it sexual because I was honestly too young to have one of those. But my first awakening where I was aware of like, I'm having a crush on somebody and they are making me feel tingly was, ain't nobody judge me, Casper the Friendly Ghost, okay? 1997, Casper the Friendly Ghost. I was watching the rerun on now Freeform, but it used to be ABC Family, and it had a name before that, but I'm not that old, okay? Anyways, and he came down them steps, and old girl's eyes got big, and my eyes got big, and I said, wow, that's a cute boy. And from that moment on, I understood the concept of cute boys, and they was just a downhill slope from there, right? Your first messaging comes to media. Your understanding of the world comes through media. When we talk about the importance of representation, oftentimes we only talk about like the people who are being represented and how that feels. And now that's important. Look, don't get me wrong, right? As a Black girl, it feels monumental to watch Living Single and see Maxine Shaw attorney at law. That's monumental because for me, she didn't just look like me. She had the same braids I had, and like she kind of had the same kind of like high cheekbones and all these things. She was doing everything, and so I kind of felt like I could do everything, right? That internal feeling feels really good. But the thing that we're always forgetting in this conversation is that we forget about the external messaging that is being sent to everybody else, right? And that is a messaging I can appreciate. So for example, with Living Single and Miss Maxine Shaw, attorney at law, right? With that, there is the messaging, right? To me that I'm getting as an individual that like, I can be dark skinned, high cheekbones, and I can have men fawning over me as an adult, right? I get to have that messaging. But the messaging that goes externally is a woman with the bob braids, with the deep dark skin is desirable, right? When the external communities watch that show, they watch 4 Black women of 4 skin tones, of 4 sizes, of 4 hairstyles, and 4 everything, and 4 attitudes, and careers and everything be desired in their own ways. And the message that is sent out is desirability. It's why stereotypes are so dangerous. It's not just that they're hurtful to the communities they're about, but if somebody doesn't know anything about somebody who might be Middle Eastern, the way our media has portrayed the Middle Eastern communities would give you a concerning message, which is why we say we don't want certain stereotypes. That's why we say we don't want to be certain things, because it's not just that I want to feel better. It's I'm not trying to continue to send out that messaging, because messaging impacts real life. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant. Hollywood's colorism issue has gotten insane. And I don't necessarily think it's just reflective of Hollywood, because it feels bad on the inside. As somebody who actively, has agents and is always auditioning and is actively pursuing this, as much as the industry, tries, you can't get rid of me. Stop trying, but as much as they try. I went to the Bahamas and now all of my bronzers are my skin tone. A blessing. I love my melanin, and I love it when it's even deeper. But it doesn't make things difficult. Okay. Anyways, that messaging becomes dangerous. And right now, that messaging then goes out and impacts how we are then interacted with. So as an actor, as somebody who, go for these auditions, and it's like, I can't even speak to how many times I will audition for a part where they have specified they want a Black person, a Black girl, and specifically because I know it makes everybody uncomfortable, but language means things. They specify they want a monoracial Black girl to represent a monoracial Black girl's experience in this character. And for me, I do all the work because I'm like, don't gotta change anything about me. I'm a monoracial Black girl. I'm just gonna do the work, right? I do all the work. You hear no, that's fine. We learn how to be gracious about rejection. Some rejections hurt more than others, but that's fine. Then comes the follow-up, the casting announcement. And you're like, I thought the baseline was that this was supposed to represent the experience of a monoracial Black girl. And then that kind of just keeps happening. The only visual for monoracial Black women are lighter sisters, which ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? I do think like anytime we start talking about colorism, they're just the infighting that goes on, right? There's so much infighting that goes on, and it's like the ones who choose to speak are made to seem like the aggressors, or like, y'all can't be happy, y'all always want to be negative, blah 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 blah, y'all just haters, y'all just bitter, y'all just whatever, so on and so forth, right? All dangerous rhetoric, because it's actually not about infighting. It's about historical context. It's about understanding, more importantly, that media relays messages. All media relays messages. I'm gonna say that again. All media relays messages. And so if a specific group is left out of specific stories, or a specific group is left out of, every time a Black girl is somebody's girlfriend on screen, she's disposable. AKA, and if anybody who doesn't know what the disposable Black girlfriend trope is, it's the in-betweener girlfriend that the character realizes that they don't want no more so that they can get to their one true love, is more often than not a Black woman. And by more often than not, I would say, like, if we're calling a spade, it's like an 85 to 15 ratio of, and this is across animation, across live action, all of that stuff, right? What does that create? A message. Those messages are then synthesized into real life. When darker skin and dark skinned Black girls are removed from stories about girlhood, femininity, the self-discovery, when we're removed from those narratives, That's a message. When dark skin representation is limited to characters who are very strong, overtly strong, because there's nothing wrong with female strength. Let's not do that. The characters who are overtly strong, who only rely on their strength, for characters who are hyper independent, characters who need nobody, characters who very seldom have a romantic partner, characters who very seldom are given all of those aspects about femininity, right? It's a message. When we always allow, especially in media, cis, dark-skinned men to exist in whatever plethora, but when it comes to representation for dark-skinned women, it goes out of the window. And you know what? I say cis, but it also applies to all, because in the same way, trans Black female representation is often, or just trans representation in general, the ones that is often accepted are either white passing, or lighter skin. And the big thing to understand is that there's nothing wrong with that representation. We need representation. But if we don't vary our representation, we send a message. I know there's been a lot of controversial castings, and honestly, for my own sanity and my own future career, I will not be commenting on any specific project, any specific anything, because what's funny is there's not just one. Any example that I use of my own experience of my own life, will not be specified and will not be clarified. That's nobody's business. But what I will say is there does get to a point in which, I can only speak for myself, but it's like you do tape after tape after tape, and you do work after work after work, and then you call your girls, and it's like, girl, nothing biting. It's like, nah, I know nothing's biting. And then you look and you're like, not saying that like people, are not booking from merit, but also it's like, there's nowhere you're saying all of us and all of our nuances and all of our whatever, none of us are talented enough. And again, when you do see our representation, it's for characters who are older. It's for characters who read older, who somebody's mom, somebody's 15-year veteran secret agent, whatever the case may be, right? We hear these stories of our legends who graduate schools like Juilliard, Yale, and then they were like, yeah, and then I had like 10 years where I didn't work. Specifically, like our darker skin legends, you hear these things, and like for me as an actress, I'm often told by my team, my agents, general people who meet me, that I read younger, right? And nothing wrong with that. Fountain of youth, my parents, honestly, I don't think my parents started to look their age until 3 years ago, and they're well into their 60s, right? And by look their age, I just mean over 45. So I'm blessed with really young looking genes. I get that. Depending on how I do my makeup and how much contour I choose or choose not to have, or how much blush I choose or choose not to have, or no makeup at all, I start to look younger and younger and younger. I get it. Well, because of that, I'm often told like, you just read so young. Like you're gonna work so much when you're older, when you read older. Messaging, right? When we talk about the idea that like, cause I read younger, the parts I would be most eligible for are younger, but my visual, and not the age I read, but my visual is not one that we often represent in stories of youth and girlhood. Even the show I was on later on made the conscious, and I applaud it, made the conscious decision to have a character who was a deeper skin tone after, public backlash, which is why, quick interlude, it is so important to talk about these things. It is really difficult to talk about these things. It's very difficult as an actress to talk about these things. Honestly, I debate I'm always debating whether to utilize my voice to talk about this. And oftentimes I only do because it's like, man, girl, this is happening to me. Like, y'all don't like to see it, but baby, I don't like to live it. You know what I mean? But more importantly than that, it is so important to utilize your voices, because it is those things, it is those times when people are like, hey, what is the messaging that we're sending? That you reach very well-meaning people and they're like, oh my God, you're so right. What is the messaging I'm sending? I don't want to send that message. And they do better. And then more representation happens. you know? So I do think we should stray away from the idea that it's like, we gotta stop talking about this, or like, y'all always not, whatever, because colorism is historical and something that like the reality that a lot of people are not going to want to accept, but is like the truth of the matter. Colorism is global. No one is exempt from engaging in it. We are not exempt from doing it to our own people. Outside communities are not exempt. Colorism, anti-Blackness, all those things are global ideas. Like, there are people in monoracial countries where everybody is Fenty 200 to Fenty 300, and the girls on Fenty 300 are getting bullied. Now, they may come to the US and be 30 shades lighter than me, but that doesn't negate the colorism they deal with in their country, because colorism is global. And I think when we could really discuss it and understand that it's global, it's a systemic thing, we can take away some of the defense of it, right? Because there's historical pretense, right? Like, the brown paper bag test is not like a corny thing people brought up, or to be bitter, or like, you know, just like a quippy, ooh. It was a test that was used to delineate. We as a society, as a planet, have always dealt with colorism because white supremacy and the wealth of fairer skin has existed since Shakespeare. Sometimes I do think about the messaging, right, that I'm being forced to navigate as an actor. It's like, oh man, like, you know, how exhausting that is. And then, as if honestly that wasn't tiring enough, then I am struck with the messaging. It doesn't just end with the auditions, right? It's in our day-to-day lives. You know, we've all heard of the studies where it says Black women are 33% more likely to get swiped left on a dating app, right? And to struggle more to find matches. We all sat there. We saw recently how, you know, them UK podcast boys, who I like them. I like their content. Them UK podcast boys sat up there and let that white man spread further messagings about Black women. Black women stereotypes that we've seen in media, right? We know that the messaging of media impacts real life. It impacts my girls, it impacts me. I remember times when I was younger being told like how much prettier I would be if I was lighter, how much better I'd be if I was lighter, whatever the case may be. And you know, I am blessed that like I grew up in you know, an African household where, you know, being Black, everybody Black, you know what I mean? Like, being Black is your pride. But also, Ghanaians, we're not exempt. We're not exempt from colorism. You go to the African market and the bleaching cream's right there. So we're all proud to be Black, but there was a secret third thing, right? And what that messaging does to the psyche as time goes on, it is so dangerous to forget that when we are championing representation, we are not just championing the goodwill of a few people. It's like, yeah, I want to see myself on screen. At the end of the day, who doesn't want to see themselves on screen, right? I spent too much money at acting school to come in here and not book one of these days, okay? Like, let's be so freaking for real. Of course I want to see myself on screen. Of course I want to book. Of course, after all these 200 auditions, way more than that I have done in like a year, or honestly the 500 that I've done in 5 years. Of course I want to get that email with my name. Of course I want to, you know, book that second series regular and actually invest it or something and make something happen. But anyways, of course, everybody wants to see themselves on screen. The whole idea that it's just, you know, people want to see themselves on screen is actually missing the second point. People want their lives to be easier. People want their lives to be nicer. People understand that the messaging that is being sent when there's an active erasure of us goes beyond just seeing somebody on screen. It feeds into the pipeline of another dark-skinned Black girl not getting asked out for prom because you're not seen that way. And people being like, y'all just bitter, because the word bitter is such an insidious one, because it implies an almost petty, the word bitter almost implies this like petty undertone, like, girl, you just bitter, rather than, girl, you are being systemically reduced in value. Systemically reduced in value. Other than Moesha, I did not, growing up, and Serafina, and I know you know what the plot line of that movie is, I didn't have representation of girls that looked like me, young girls that looked like me, young women that looked like me, teens that looked like me. Again, other than Moesha and Serafina, who looked like me and were the main character and were getting to experience all these things. And it's not just that felt bad, like, oh, I didn't get to see myself on screen. It was also that lack of messaging, that lack of representation, that lack of something for people to watch it and be like, oh, okay, those are Black people, they're humans, this is how I interact with them, carrying into life. All that lack, therefore, meant I was now invisible in the same capacities. The lack of positive messaging meant that there was there was no lack of negative. And y'all act like not having dark-skinned Black girls on screen is not sending any message. Oh, if you're not on screen, nothing's being said. That's not true. A message is being said. And also that means that the negative messaging, the negative stereotypes, and there's all types of negative stereotypes, and I'll admit it, I laugh. Some of them are funny. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some of them are funny, some of them are whatever. Like, I'm not gonna go and not enjoy Big Mama's house. But also, if that's the only messaging anybody has, right? If that's the only messaging anybody has, then for people who don't interact with these people on the day-to-day, for kids who are constantly synthesizing and learning through life, through what they see, that is then what we take forward. For me, for a long time, and I'll tell the truth to him, like, a cute white boy was like the epitome of like, oh, you got a boyfriend, you go get yourself a cute little white boy. That was like the epitome of desirability in my mindset as a kid, right? That's what you watch on TV. And I remember watching Not So Raven. I remember when that fine ass little light skinned boy, what's his name? Dion? I'm in the circus face right here. I remember when him and Raven got together. And I was like, Dad, where is this messaging at? I remember when me and my family finally got cable, and I started being like, wait. I remember I watched Sister, Jordan and Tyreek. I was like, these boys are my type. But like, it was just like, I'm learning all these messages. But one message was clear, that in all of these wonderful stories and all these varied representation, one thing never existed, literally except in Moesha, was a dark-skinned girl at the center. And then I go to school, our best friends in the world, they can't even, they swatting them off. They swatting them away like bats. Like, they'll be single for 8 seconds and then here come another boy like, hey, like, can I hold your hand? And me, like, I would have a crush and I would almost feel like, oh my God, like almost scared to reveal it, because I'm like, well, it's not standard for somebody to like or be attracted to a Black girl. If it was standard, it would be part of the messaging. And then having to navigate that, and always having to navigate that. And I remember when The Duff came out, I was in high school? Probably in high school when The Duff came out. And I remember feeling so seen. I was like, oh my God, I'm the Duff. I'm the Duff, yes. Because that movie's all about empowerment, right? So like, it wasn't really like it's all about like, you're the Duff and like, don't be bad, right? So I was like, I'm the Duff. My friends didn't appreciate that. I was like, I'm the Duff, it's fine, I'm the Duff. And I started to notice that like, it wasn't just me, like all me and my dark-skinned best friends, we all were kind of made to feel like the Duff, unless we were, the few of us who were blessed to really grow up in like truly all Black communities. But even then, it was like still kind of being compared to other Black girls who were lighter. The constant comments, the constant microaggressions, the constant belittlement. And I was like, why is it that everybody struggles to see all the beauty and all the grace and all the wonderfulness about Black girls? Why is it they bald headed this and they did this and all this stuff. Why? And even if I am bald, if the head is beautiful, why do you care? Like, why is it everything negative? And I turn on the TV and I'm like, right. Because there's not enough positive representation to drown out the noise. And there gets to a point when you start pulling out examples from before you were born that your argument starts to feel weak. So it brings me to today. The world is in a wave leaning towards conservatism. And I know my lower 40, I know you know what I'm talking about, right? The overall world is in a wave of conservatism. Hollywood very much said, all that George Floyd mess that we did, we love you, George Floyd, but we are never doing that again. Bye. And all the progress that was made that year was just kind of pushed to the wayside. And that conservatism and that lack of representation is impacting everybody. I don't want to make it seem like it's not impacting everybody. But the erasure, because it's an erasure. At least I had Raven. You know what I mean? Could me and Raven relate on skin tone? No, but we could relate on everything else, right? Me and this beautiful black girl, we can relate on everything else. It's not that the current representation of black women that we see shouldn't exist, because lighter skinned black women also represent the beautiful rainbow that is black people, monoracial or otherwise, right? But it's using their placement to justify an otherwise erasure rather than saying, let's both exist. Because then we expand the messaging. And then the messaging that bled into my little middle school day-to-day, the messaging that bled into my high school day-to-day, the messaging that meant I was, like 19 when I had my first kids, a reality that I share with a lot of my darker skinned sisters and friends, is now bleeding into my adulthood. Because it starts to be like, okay, we're not booking on screen and we're not booking in life, but we exist. And we're kind of being erased out of our own stories. It's no longer feels like we can just scream merit. Because are you saying there's no merit in people who look, speak, and exist like me? I might not say this line's the same as the next girl. I'll admit it. I got my own little flavor. You know what I mean? I say Shakespeare differently. I get it. Fine. But to almost the insinuation, it stops becoming an insinuation and then it starts becoming identity politics. And then it starts becoming, she's kind of supposed to be the love interest, so she's got to be pretty. And this is something we as a community have been using. We've been using the word pretty as a replacement for the word light skin for a long time. There's historical context to this. That's the most fascinating thing to me about the whole conversation about colorism and everything that we have to say about that, is that it was not invented, right? Like Hollywood's going through an intensive spike of it. Colorist choices in casting, whereas I thought the 90s made so much of an effort to address it, and wasn't a perfect era for it. And I know our legends before us would tell us that it was not a perfect era for it. But my gosh, if Martin existed today, Pam wouldn't even exist. It's not even that she wouldn't even get to play, second lead of Gina. She wouldn't exist. What are we doing? I think about what watching A Different World in college did for me. Specifically watching Kim. I needed Kim. Oh, I needed Kim, guys. Like, you have no idea I needed Kim. I needed to see this beautiful, deep, dark girl feel the things that I feel. Be chaste in the way that I would hope. Intellectual, strong, but vulnerable. And it's so interesting because A Different World very famously had Mammy Dearest, the episode that dealt with colorism, the first time a television show directly discussed colorism in that way. An episode I highly recommend, season 5, I believe episode 19. If it's not episode 19, it's definitely season 5. But anyways, Mammy Dearest. And I think it's been over 30 years. And that monologue that Kim delivers at the end and being like, nothing has changed. anything, it's gotten worse. Because if we made a different world now, Kim wouldn't exist. And the messaging that Kim got to give out, it's not just, yes, selfishly, I do care about the feeling that it gives. Selfishly, I want me and all of my sisters and all my friends and all my girls, I'm pounding out these auditions to book. But more importantly, I want that example of messaging that Kim gave. That exterior example. One that wasn't always perfect, but it existed. You know? And this is an ongoing conversation. This probably will be an ongoing conversation, or even on this channel. But something that I'm like, we gotta stop losing in this conversation. We gotta stop losing in this conversation of the pointing and the backing. And it's like where, you know, lighter skinned actors feel attacked, which, to be fair, y'all be attacking too. But also where like darker skinned actresses feel invisible. To be fair, we are invisible. All this infighting loses the whole reason why it matters. Because the messaging we are sending with this continued erasure will be a message consumed not just by my future daughter, you know, the planet withstanding, not just by my future daughter, but everybody in her class. When they put on Disney and they put on Nickelodeon, when they put on the newest YA show, when they put on the newest coming of age movie, when they put on whatever, and they don't see my future child, earth withstanding, or on a visual that represents my future child, earth withstanding, her invisibility thickens like a cloak. That over time, it stops feeling like an invisibility cloak. And it starts to feel like an invisibility chain that tightens and it tightens and it grips and it grips and it hurts and you can't break through it. And it's so easy to just tell people to overcome. We shall, okay. But also understanding that the system in place, there's a system in place that makes it difficult. Doesn't make it impossible. Let's talk about that. It's not impossible, right? We're not saying that being a dark-skinned girl now means that you are incapable of living a wonderful, beautiful, extravagant, talented, fabulous life. Like, for the love of God, I hope every Black woman who may ever see this video, I hope every Black woman who may ever see this, listen to Doechii when she said, you are not too dark. You are not too loud. You are not pretty enough. You are not all those things. You are everything you need to be, and you will make it and push through. Let's not get it twisted. But systems are systems. And media and messaging. There's a reason why media can be used as propaganda, right? Propaganda to make you feel a certain way about somebody or something. I grew up watching rom-coms. Shit, I still watch me 10, 12 K-dramas every other week, okay? I grew up doing that. I grew up like every other little girl with our dolls playing house. Like, ooh, my Prince Charming will come, blah, blah, blah. And I grew up synthesizing the message that there was a place for that to happen for everybody but me. And anytime I did watch a film where somebody who looked like me was in that position, I studied it like the Bible. But that's me as an individual. What we forget is there's also a message being sent to others. The girl in the back of class that you turn around and you catch her eye and she don't look like me. So when you turn around and you catch my eye, you turn. That's the messaging that's being sent out. And it's not bitter to say it. It is objective truth. Because again, this is a larger conversation, and maybe it's a conversation for another day that I'm willing to have, because I did write my sophomore thesis. Did I write a sophomore year sophomore thesis in my feminist history class, Black feminist history class, specifically about colorism, the origins of colorism in film, television, movie, and stage. I wrote a thesis about it. It's 23 pages. Maybe one day I'll release it. I'll find which computer I printed it on. Anyways, that's not the point. Point is, when I say this is a historical thing, just know that your girl has been reading primary sources, okay, from the 1800s. Okay? Your girl has been reading primary sources from the times of Oscar Michaud. So yes, there's historical context. It's not just people pulling this out. Why y'all always complaining about it? Why y'all whatever? Because no change happened in silence. A woman once said, if I had accepted the pickle juice, I'd be drinking pickle juice right now. If we accept these things and we continue to, they get worse. And the times that they've gotten better is when we talked about it. I am a testimony. The only reason that a small portion, because not enough of y'all watch the show to keep it running, but the only reason a small portion of y'all know who I am as an actor, because somebody had the bravery to speak up. And then somebody had the good intent to do something about it. And there's so many people who have the good intent, but nobody's speaking up for them to take action, right? We're not just fighting to see ourselves on screen. We're fighting to ensure that the messaging that other people receive about us on screen helps to better our everyday lives, helps to create more diverse interactions with people and us, help to break the idea that our existence is monolithic, helps to break the idea of desirability is attached to fairer skin, which again is a global issue. And it's like, honestly, every country could learn from this. Every country is Hollywood or version could learn from this. Because baby, I do watch K-dramas. So I do know that oftentimes the male lead, he can be tan. But the very few times I've seen like a truly tan female lead, they got her out on the farm, she'll go. So I know it's not just us. We ain't even gotta talk about Bollywood. I know it's not just us. Discussing these messaging and discussing the lack thereof can only benefit everybody. It's not about tearing down the community. It's about keeping the community accountable. When I was an RA in college, I used to say, I'm not trying to call you out. I'm trying to call you in. When we talk about the systemic structures of what the current erasure of Black girls from screen, and specifically for the love of God, the erasure of Black girls from YA media, we're not trying to call anybody out. We're trying to call people in. Because yeah, selfishly, do I want to be booked again? Yes. Am I tired of being told that the parts that I know are casting girls that look like me? Oh, you read too young. And then for the parts that I'm like, okay, this is the age I read for. You did such a great job. It was such a great tape. We're just going in a different direction. And the direction is different. There's nothing comfortable about talking about colorism. But there was also nothing comfortable about constantly being considered the duff for no other reason except your friends are lighter than you. And not just considered, treated like one, right? There's no comfortability in the existence of existing within the frame of colorism. But we're always so worried about the comfortability of discussing it, right? And I don't have a solution. All I have is a voice and my lawyer 40 and my space and my perseverance. And you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe I just have to accept 10 years from now, when I finally look 31 on camera, I'm gonna book all the time. And that's gonna be great. I'm stubborn enough, I'll still be here doing this. So that's fine. But in the meantime, I'm like, I can't help but think of all the other girls like me who turn on their favorite TV show and turn on their favorite rom-com and have just accepted that that will never be them. And that secret voice in their head that's telling them that I guess it won't be in you in life either. Because there's a message. We don't have to continue sending the message that we're sending. We can choose to embrace young Black girlhood. We can choose to embrace the nuance of it. We can choose to embrace the importance of showing Black girls, not just as somebody supporting, not just as somebody who's disposable, but as the main character that everybody can love and relate to. Because everybody loved Moesha, right? We can choose to be better. So you should try. Anyways, stream forever when it comes on Netflix, because you know, I'm gonna support my girlies who do bug. Stream forever when it streams on Netflix this year. And yeah, my name has been Grace. This has been my space. If you're part of the Loyal 40, I love ya. Thanks for being here. I guess I'm actually up to like, the thing is, it's like I have like 300 subscribers, but like only 40 of y'all watch the video. So that's why I keep it to 40. But like, I will acknowledge that 300 of you have subscribed. So to my loyal 300, thank you, baby, for holding it down. If you want to join the group, that's fine. We just being here. I just be navigating life. I'm very inconsistent, but I always come back with love. Okay, bye guys.